Hey everybody, welcome back to my YAML Power Platform Tips series. Today we're going to talk about self-contained Power Apps galleries with Base64. Now, what do I mean by this? It means that we want to have all of our galleries, if we're going to share them as a YAML snippet or a sample, to be self-contained. Now, I've already done a video that shows how to create hard-coded data, but in that video, I was using images that were referencing URLs to image files, ping files that were available on the internet, or maybe on an intranet you might have. But what if you've got images that are stored in a Dataverse table or a SharePoint table? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. All right, before we get into it, let me just tell you a little bit about me. My name is David Warner. I work at Quisitive, and I'm a Microsoft MVP and a Microsoft Certified Trainer, which basically means I love talking about this stuff a lot. So if you'd like to see more of what I do, you can check out my site at warner.digital, or come connect with me on LinkedIn. Let's collaborate. I'm always looking to share ideas, updates, and I'm probably going to share way too many purple and heart emojis. Aww. Yep, that's right. I love the sound effects too. And hey, if you find this video helpful or even mildly entertaining, tap that subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, and let me know in the comments how you're planning to use what you learned. I genuinely love hearing and collaborating with other developers that are putting some of these things into action. And hey, by the way, I run a newsletter where I kind of round out some tips and information around other Microsoft 365 and Power Platform news and content in one easy, not spammy email. So I'll include a link in the chat. All right, if you're not familiar with YAML snippets and Power Apps, they basically let you copy and reuse entire controls in clean, readable code. It's super, super handy. Now, I go into more detail on how they work in the very first video of this series, which I'll link out for you. So if you're new to them, you might want to check out that first. Otherwise, let's get to the tip. So the idea behind self-contained Power Apps galleries with Base64 is you're kind of BYOP, right? Bring your own pixels. So we're going to convert embedded images that are part of the data set, and we'll show that off here in the demo, say for example in Dataverse, a column where you store your image in the column, and we're gonna convert that to Base64, so that way when your YAML snippet gets pasted into another application, a brand new application, that you never have to worry about linking to an image or anything like that. So you paste once, it works anywhere, it's great, it's awesome, and of course you want to keep in mind that you want to right size your payload. Because what does that mean? It means that Base64 can get kind of chunky, right? Like Chunk from Goonies. Hey, you guys! All right, so it can get chunky, right? So you want to make sure that you don't include your entire record set. We'll talk about that in the demo. So maybe just limit it to just a few records to make sure that you're not overloading what it is that you're going to be sharing, right? And so we'll see a demo of that. Of course, before we get into the demo, we've got to talk about our demo quote, right? No URL, no panic. We brought our own pixels, Base64. It's showtime, right? So we want to make sure that we set it up right, and we're going to trumpet it along the entire way, right? Ta-da! So we're going to show it off, and let's see what it looks like. Okay, so here we are in Power Apps Studio. Now, if you've been following along in any of my other demos, this may look familiar, but if not, then let me go ahead and set the context. We've got a couple of screens that are pulling data from different data sets. Let me back out there again. From different data sets. The first one's Excel, and this data set is based on what we're seeing here. We're seeing images and information that's coming from an imported Excel file. Now, those images, though, are referencing externally available images, like on a blog site or an internet site, something that even if you hard code data for a gallery and then paste it into a brand new app will still work because those images are available on the internet. But in the case of Dataverse, it's not, right? So let me go over to the Dataverse data set here. We see we've got Lego sets Excel and then WD Lego sets coming from Dataverse. And if I go into Dataverse, what we've got is we've got our set URL and image URL, and that's fine. Those are both technically the same images, just pointing to two different locations, so we'd have a choice. But then we've got our Lego set image column where all of our images are embedded in the record set. So theoretically now, if we go try to convert this to hard-coded data, what is that going to look like? Is it going to work? Is it going to be completely modular and copy and pasteable? Well, let's take a look. That's what we're going to find out. So when I come back over to my screens, I've got a data export here, and we're going to focus on using the concat function. So we're going to use that for Excel right there, a Dataverse, and then Dataverse Base64. So in Excel, if I were to click on this, I've got a label here that just simply is exporting what it is that I'm clicking on this. When I do that, right, what I'm doing is I'm saying I want these items from my record set. I'm storing it in a variable. The label is displaying that variable. Just makes it easy for me to see my output, right? Very easy. And then again, I touched on this in the beginning, I'm only exporting 6 records. So again, if you're thinking about doing this and embedding hard-coded data and you've got hundreds of records, do limit it using like like first in or maybe even first one or two. Maybe you only want the first record for that to be a good example, but don't include the whole thing. That's going to make it super chunky and cumbersome and stuff like that. And chunky's in a bad way in that case, right? So you don't necessarily want that. But we see we've got our image URL and set URL, and that's what our gallery is using. So it works when it gets pasted into another application. So for example, if I execute this button, then we see I've got my record set, and I can copy that. So I'm going to copy it. I'm going to come back over to my demo Excel. I'm going to go into my gallery. So now I'm clicking on my gallery, and I've got my items, and we see that's pointing at the actual record set. So if I replace that with my data, then bam, everything just kind of flickered and is now working. And just to prove it, if I were to go to view code, then now we see all this is hard coded, right? We see the record sets right there. If I copy it, come over to a brand new app and paste, then it works perfectly. There you go. All the images are showing up, everything. This frame is an SVG, so that's hard coded. I've got another video on that. And so it works as expected. But what happens if we go back and use Dataverse? So I'm going to close this up. I'm going to close all this up, and we're going to go look at demo Dataverse. Now this is pretty much the same. I just transferred out a different image and put in Luxo Jr., right? Big fan of Pixar, so cool. So there's a little bit of a different data set. We know that from what we saw when we looked at the Dataverse data set. So I'm going to come back to my data export. I'm going to clear and reset the label. And then on the Dataverse, what I'm doing, a couple of things. We have our Lego set image. That's the one that actually is storing the image in Dataverse, right? So I still have my set URL. I still have my image URL. I could use those if I wanted, but maybe I don't have those at all. Maybe they don't exist. And so I'm using my Lego set image, and I'm pulling out the Lego set image dot value. And then, by the way, just a pro tip, in case you didn't know, use that little function right there. It's great. Copies it to your clipboard, so then you don't got to worry about selecting the text and copying it, just in case you didn't know. So when I click on concat, and we see what gets outputted, is for the Lego set image, it gives me this value that says AppRes and Blob Manager. And what it's doing is it's pointing to that image within my data set, within my app. So technically, I've already copied this into my clipboard, right, using that function. So if I come back over to Demo Dataverse here, and I expand that and go to the items property for that gallery, right? That's what I'm looking at. I'm going to replace that with the hard-coded value that just got put into my clipboard. So I'll delete that just so we know everything is there. Okay, so we've got no data set. I'm going to paste that in. Yes, everything is working, but we kind of expected to because we're still within the same app, right? So when I go look up here, I see that AppRes right there. Okay, great, no problem. Now, does it still work if I copy and paste it? Well, let's try. Let me close that. I'm going to come to my gallery, and I'm going to click View Code, and I'm going to copy the code. Now, first thing I'm going to do is paste it into a blank screen here within the same app. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say paste. And yes, it still works. Well, why? Well, because we're in the same app. That data set still exists perfectly, right? So of course it's still going to work. But if I come over to a brand new app right here on this screen, paste it, well, it still looks like it works, right? We're seeing all of our information because all that data is hard coded. But again, that AppRes has no awareness here, right? So let me back in. There we go. Has no awareness of anything because I'm not inside the scope of the original app. I'm not in scope of the data set. So it's not giving me the red X's. It just doesn't work and it just doesn't look good, right? So how can we fix that? Well, I'm going to go back over to my original application. First, I'm going to delete this out of my new app. So there we go, blank screen. I'm going to go back over here and we're going to come back into the Dataverse gallery. It's using the hard-coded data, so I'm just going to delete that out and then I'm going to reset it to WD Lego sets. So now it's using that Dataverse again, right? That's great. And I'm going to come back over to my data export. We're going to reset this. And now we're going to convert it to Base64, right? So this is the big wow moment, right? This is the big, we're being sold on it right here. Cha-ching! That's right. So what we're doing is we're converting, and we're not just taking the value like we were before, we're converting the value to JSON. Now this is going to make it a lot bigger. So again, getting back to that chunky thing, right? It will become a lot longer than simply if we were using the single line AppRes like we saw. So that's why you do want to limit your data set to something reasonable to make sure that you're not overloading your snippet with too much data and making it just too big to deal with on your users. So again, I'm using the copy. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that. And now we see, well, yeah, it's a lot longer, right? There's a lot more more information, but specifically what we're doing is we're getting the data application, the stream is Base64, and then all this junk right here, all that nonsensical information, and it goes down for a long, long time, essentially is what makes up that one Home Alone house, right? And then we've got it for each additional one. So how can we prove it? Well, let's go back to my gallery here. We're using WD Lego sets. So that's the Dataverse one. I'm going to come in here and delete that. Okay, no trick up this sleeve, no trick up that sleeve. And I'm going to paste that in. And now, okay, everything looks to be working, but it did before too, right? So I'm going to go look at the view code. Now, the difference here, though, is we are seeing that Base64. And notice how much longer this is, though, right? That's all those images and stuff like that. So there's a lot more information there than simply that single app res line, but that's okay. It, again, makes it 100% modular and 100% snippable and copy and pastable. So I'm going to click copy code. That's copied to my clipboard now. And I'm going to come to the hard-coded data sample within the same app. So we're going to do the same thing as we did before. I'm going to select paste. Okay, yep, everything is working right. We're clicking on that. We see all that data there for our items, right? So that's all still looking good. We're there. So now the big moment, is it going to work when I come to a brand new app? So I'm going to come in on that screen. I'm going to click paste, and there you go. Everything is working as expected. You can see here we're using items, and if I expand the formula bar and do that, then you can see, yep, we're using that Base64. So now everything is completely modular. It's great. Now we can absolutely carry it anywhere and everywhere. You can copy and paste it. You can store it in GitHub or whatever mechanism, and it will look exactly how you want it to look so that when your users use it, they know exactly what the intended purpose is. It doesn't look like there's broken, doesn't require them to go read a bunch of documentation, although you should include documentation, and I'll talk about how we can set that up for some of this in a later video. But hopefully you found this of value. It's a quick little tip. Of course, I tend to blather, blah, 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 on and on, but I really love to try to ensure that everything's explained well. So we'd love to hear what you think. Please do like and subscribe. Let me know if there's either areas that you want to see or how you use this or what other Base64 favorite techniques you've got. All right, thanks everybody for watching. Before we wrap up, let me show you one more amazing power move. There is a Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community GitHub repo where you can browse, use, and even contribute back to a number of snippets for free. Seriously, free, as in $0. Cost you nothing. You absolutely can use them infinitely. And when you contribute back, say, for example, you create your own snippet and give it back to the community, you don't just get those warm, fuzzy feelings, although, hey, those are good too, but you can actually earn Credly badges, like you see here, Snippet Sorcerer, Power Contributor, or Community Contributor. Now, these are great for your blog, for your resume, for LinkedIn. Show them to your manager, show them to your clients, because they prove that you are contributing to the community and you are making a difference for the entire global community. And hey, send it to mom. She might not know what a YAML snippet is, but she'll know you're awesome. The links are here on the screen. I'll include them in the YouTube video description. So please get involved. Check them out.